How's it going, Knicks fans? Welcome back to Fireside Knicks. If you're new to the channel, make sure to like and subscribe. Check out our yesterday's video on Jalen Brunson and what Luka Doncic had to say about him. It was some good stuff, some really great comments. They miss him dearly, and we are so happy to have Mr. Brunson on this Knicks team. But today we're taking a look at two of the most underrated Knicks, and if your perception is from another team, if you're on another club, if you're looking from the outside in, these guys are coming to play, and they're coming to beat the crap out of you because up to this point in the season, there are two players specifically who have really elevated their game, and they're doing a lot for this Knicks team. You remember guys in the past that have elevated their game, like Taj Gibson played really well for us at times. But this year, Hartenstein, Emmanuel Quickley. These two guys lead the Knicks in plus minus this season. We're going to break it down for you guys, give you reasons as to why they are kind of our secret weapons, if you will. Some people don't even know Quickley until he drops 40 on your head and you're another team. So we're really excited to kind of break down these guys, talk about them, what their impact is on this Knicks squad. We're hyped about it. We got the fifth seed locked up, and we're excited. Jalen Brunson is not going to be playing tonight. Right hand maintenance, they're calling it. Sit the guys. Sit the freaking guys. Make sure they're healthy for the playoffs. That's where our mindset is right now, Ryan. Before we dive into it, how you do today, my friend?
I'm doing excellent. As you mentioned, the New York Knicks have locked up the fifth seed. So at this point, I don't even know. There's no objective with these games. You just keep guys healthy, right? At this point, it's as long as everyone is healthy after the game, you have won. The way I view it with Emmanuel Quickley and Isaiah Hartenstein, man, the Knicks have one of the best benches in the NBA now, and that's because of, a huge part of this is those two guys. The Knicks, if you look at kind of where they were in the beginning of the season, they had to cut out Fournier, they had to cut out, Cam Reddish, they had cut out a significant amount of minutes for both of those two guys, and they were supposed to be in the rotation. They had cut out Derrick Rose, that's three guys right there. They had an 8-man rotation for a good amount of time. And they played really good basketball and they did that. Don't get me wrong. But over the course of the full season, they were getting gassed. They were playing some pretty bad basketball right leading up to the trade deadline. When you lose Mitchell Robinson, you feel like, okay, we're going to have to start Hartenstein, who got off to a really poor start this year. And you felt like you were going to lose a lot of your interior presence. And while, yes, Mitchell Robinson has a lot of interior presence, and that can't be doubted, Hartenstein stepped right up. He's been an excellent defensive big for the Knicks. He fills the role perfectly. He has interior presence. He stopped shooting, which I think is a good thing because his shot just wasn't falling. It's good to have a big who can space the floor, but you'd rather just have a big who can do what he needs to do. He's been available for the Knicks all year. He's played 79 games, right? The Knicks, surely they needed a lot of depth, or they needed a lot of stability in their center position because Mitchell Robinson is a guy who will get banged up. He's a guy who will suffer some injuries. And again, after a really poor start to the year, he's looked excellent, right? And he's a big part of, what the Knicks have looked like over the last couple of months. And, obviously Emmanuel Quickley's the guy who I think is clearly the better player between the two. Emmanuel Quickley is the sixth man of the year, in my opinion. Quickley would start on a lot of teams to be a really good point guard. The only reason he isn't starting is because of Jalen Brunson, right? And I don't mean that in a diss to Jalen Brunson, but he's only not starting because his point guard happens to be a top 25 player in the NBA this year. Both of these guys are going to be heavily involved in what the Knicks do in the postseason. Both of these guys are going to play huge roles for the Knicks in the postseason. And when those teams, when the Cavs roll out their second unit, or, let's say you advance in the second round and you're trying to punch up against a team like the Celtics or the 76ers or the Bucks, you're going to have a really good time with your second unit if you have a second unit that can outplay theirs, right? Because you're going to be able to take advantage of that. Where you lack in terms of not having a Jason Tatum or a Giannis or an Embiid, you make up for it by having, hey, we have an Emmanuel Quickley off the bench and you don't. And we have an Isaiah Hartenstein off the bench and you don't. So I feel really good about this team in terms of their depth. And I feel like these two guys have been such a big catalyst for that.
Absolutely have, and Quickley has really stepped up defensively this year. Now, the scoring is higher than ever. You watch teams like the Mavs, like we talked about yesterday, they have really struggled on defense, and they miss guys like Jalen Brunson, and they don't have guys like Emmanuel Quickley. As you mentioned, the Knicks have one of the deepest teams in the NBA. You have guys like Obi Toppin coming off the bench, barely plays. The only time he plays is when Julius Randle is out. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson has been an absolute defensive force for us, but let me read you a couple things, pretty positive stuff regarding Quickley and Hartenstein. So Emmanuel Quickley is the Knicks plus minus leader this season at a whopping plus 283. Has plus 80 higher than any other Knick. Plus 80, that's ridiculous. He is the obvious front runner for sixth man of the year, averaging 14.3 points, 4.1 rebounds, 3.3 assists, a steal a game over 28.7 minutes. So really, really good stuff there as a bench piece. He's a part of the Knicks' highest net rating lineup that has played at least 100 minutes together. And that lineup, those core five, Quickly, Brunson, Quentin Grimes, Randall, and Isaiah Hartenstein. So really impressive there. They've played 115 minutes together in 30 games and have a 125.8 offensive rating. Now, you look at the defensive side, this is the most impressive of the bunch, right? He's a member of the five that has the lowest defensive rating on the team and one of the lowest in basketball in general, in the NBA. This lineup has Quickly, Brunson, Grimes, Randall, and Mitchell Robinson. That five-man unit has played 165 minutes in 27 games and has a 101.8 defensive rating. 101.8. Do you have any idea how freaking good that is? These days, every single NBA team is putting up over 100 points with ease. You're talking 110 plus points every single game for the most part. End of the day, 101.8 is ridiculous. It's tremendous. And the fact that Knicks have something like that gives them a lot of leverage in scenarios where they need to have good defense, and they can put this unit out there and really hope to lock teams down, towards the end of games. And obviously having Brunson, Quickly, and Randall on the floor at the same time offers you a ton of offensive quality as well. So Quickly has put it together a sixth man of the year quality season. And you look at Hartenstein, he's averaging his highest rebounds per game in his career at 6.6, which is 1.7 more than his 2021-22 numbers. He's only 24 years old. Remember this, guys. Hartenstein is very young. He's a lefty. He has some value as a rebounder. He's a good center. He's physical. He gets into the paint, does some stuff well. This is a player who, you're not relying on him to score. Last year, like you mentioned, he was shooting a little bit more. Now he's reduced that pretty significantly, but he's averaging 2 minutes more per game. So he's playing 20 minutes per game. Played in 79 this season, and he's making an impact when it comes to the rebounding portion. So that's really where you're looking for him to make a big impact there. He's averaging 0.8 blocks per game. But, looking at Quickly and Hartenstein, Ryan, seeing how their efficiency has begun to add up and the impact is noticeable, what do you expect from Quickly in the postseason? Because how do you want them to use him? Just kind of roll with the normal sequence, or do you think like you bring him off the bench, have those specific lineups, those specific core five groups that have really good ratings, and just attack the same strategy. Don't mess up anything that's not broken. You don't have to change anything drastically, but Quickly's got to be a big focal point during the playoffs. He's just too good not to be on the floor pretty consistently.
Yeah, I think, the way I view it is if it's not broke, don't fix it. We can talk. I think there's definitely a conversation to be had about maybe RJ Barrett's role in the starting lineup because he's had a really poor season. But Quickly isn't going to fill in the small forward position. That's just that doesn't really make much sense. And I think he's important as a sixth man off the bench. I talked about how good the bench is, but the one thing they really don't have is scoring off the bench. And Quickly is that for this team. I think that's important. He's going to be in the closing lineup, which is all that matters. To me, what matters most is the guys who get the most minutes and the guys who play in the fourth quarter to close it out, right? I mentioned this in the last podcast where the Knicks can throw out a really damn good closing lineup. Jalen Brunson, Emmanuel Quickly, Josh Hart, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson, right? And if Mitchell Robinson were to foul out or gets into foul trouble, you have Isaiah Hartenstein, right? Who, as you mentioned, he doesn't need to be a big role in this. He doesn't need to play a large role in this offense. When you have a guy like Brunson and when you have a guy like Randle, these guys are ball dominant. Quickly is going to also probably would like to, he can shot create. He can take his own shot. So he's going to try to shot create. And it makes sense. He's been red hot. He's a guy who can push the tempo of the offense. But then you have two guys in Hart and Hartenstein, which is funny enough, got the Hart thing going. But they play more defensive minded roles. They kind of pick their spots to score. I think Hart's definitely the better scorer between the two because he can actually shoot. But when you feel like you can mix and match, kind of depending on the situation in the postseason, you also have Quentin Grimes in there, who maybe if you want to put Quentin Grimes off the bench, if you could do that and put Grimes in starting or Quickly in the starting lineup, there are a lot of angles the New York Knicks can take entering the postseason. And that's what Quickly gives you, right? God forbid anything were to happen to Jalen Brunson, you feel confident that Emmanuel Quickly can start, right? We've seen the Knicks beat teams like the Boston Celtics with Emmanuel Quickly leading the way as a starting point guard, right? Quickly just opens up a lot of things for this team. And you mentioned defensive rating. One big thing that's important to note, the Knicks are have a 110.9 0.8 defensive rating when quickly he's on the court, and it's over 121 when he's off the court. For context, the Houston Rockets have a 110.5 offensive rating, and they're 27th in the NBA. So you're going from, teams play like the Houston Rockets on offense when quickly he's on the court to teams play like the best offense in the NBA when quickly he's off the court. So, there's a big difference there. Obviously, Brunson isn't giving you a lot of great defensive play from the guard position, but you feel like in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter, by having quickly Hart and Mitchell Robinson or Hartenstein out there, you have the defensive presence necessary that you can have Brunson take on lesser assignments defensively. And Randall's a big body, so you feel like he adds to your interior presence, even if he isn't necessarily the best perimeter defender. So, it's all about just meshing. The Knicks basketball is a lot more about, the synergy and how guys fit together than just throw out 5 guys and hope it works, right? Josh Hart isn't a superstar, but he's taken this team to a new level. Emmanuel Quickley isn't a superstar. I do think he could be an all-star caliber player. I think the ceiling is a lot higher than people give him credit for. But he fits this team perfectly. Same thing with Hartenstein. Hartenstein's never making an all-star team as a New York Knick because he's probably never going to start. But he's really important to this team. It's all about fit. It's all about how they fit with the starters. It's all about how they fit as a unit. And as you mentioned, that 5-man unit that the Knicks can throw out there, man, they can really make a lot of noise in the postseason, disrupt a lot of teams that think that they are going to cruise to the conference finals or they're going to cruise past the Knicks. They can cause a lot of problems. They can make it they can make some teams sweat. And I'm pretty confident in saying that.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are capable of beating good teams. You see what the Knicks did to the Cavs just a couple of days ago without Julius Randle. The team basketball that we're witnessing is excellent, right? And Jalen Brunson's out tonight, so we're going to see a lot of Emmanuel Quickley in tonight's game, so we are excited about that as always. But, these two players have really elevated their game. We're ecstatic about their services. We're ecstatic about all the value they've brought. Quickley is going to be a long-term solution for us. You remember the days of J.R. Smith when he was at, won the Sixth Man of the Award, was sick off the bench. He did a lot for us. That athleticism, and the thing about Quickley is the guy just doesn't stop running. He's like a freaking track star on the court, but he's also capable of scoring. He's an efficient scorer. His defense has improved tenfold, and he makes everybody around him better. And ultimately, that's what you want from a Sixth Man of the Year candidate. You want a player that's going to elevate everybody around you. He's going to come up clutch. The 3-point shots, his numbers have never been higher, and that's something that's very obvious on the score sheet. But also, you just look at the stats, averaging 14.3 points a game. His 3-point shot, he's hitting 362 this season. That's his highest since his rookie year, and he's taking 5.4. So he's taking, a pretty significant number more than he was during his rookie season, 4.7 to 5.4. So a little bit less than 1 per game. But his free throw percentage has dropped about 7%. So that's the only notable decrease that I've seen. Traditionally, he's a very good free throw shooter. So that's kind of interesting. His free throw attempts have increased from the past by marginally, but definitely an odd situation for Quickley, who is shooting better from everywhere but the free throw line. So just could be a confidence thing, could just be something he's in his own head or whatever it might be. Maybe he's just tired, and the second he stops, like the adrenaline wears down, and then he just misses shots. Who knows? But his field goal percentage is up significantly to 445 from 392 last year and 395 in his rookie season. And the kid's 23 years old, guys. I mean, he is just able to rent a car in Europe. So it's like insane how young he is. We're excited about his growth, excited about his potential. If he can maintain this, he's going to be a very good player for a very long time with a 533 estimated field goal percentage, or effective field goal percentage rather. Apologies about that. So, really exciting player. We love him. Hartenstein bringing a lot of value to this team. The defense is obviously there. The rebounds are there, and he's being a productive asset for a team that could use another center. Obviously, when Mitchell Robinson was out, he stepped in and made a really big impact for us. So he's an essential piece. We love to see it. We're really curious to see how the postseason strategy kind of works. But nonetheless, we appreciate all you guys for tuning into the Fireside Knicks episode, talking about Quickley and Hartenstein. Always love to hear perspectives and opinions below in the YouTube comments. So as always, enjoy your evening. Let's go Quickley and Hart tonight. Enjoy the game, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.